Saturday, March 18th, 2017.
Live from the Groove Surfer Studios in
Coffee, win, stripes.
Alright, let's do it one more time.
Did you drop a stick?
That's a good...
No, we don't need to do it again. He dropped the stick. That's normal.
Hey, that's... Alright, that's in the spirit of rock and roll.
Joe's totally human.
You know what? Everybody's human. We all are doomed to die. At any rate,
And on that
we all
sad,
love rock and roll.
on that sad note,
Yeah.
there is a new spirit in rock and roll. That's in a new
Dude.
form.
Heaven's Rock and Roll Band is really getting pretty tight. They've really claimed a lot of the best within the recent last like 8 months.
So you may notice that we don't have the keyboard set up and we have the guitar, and that's because we found out just this afternoon Chuck Berry has passed away.
Chuck Berry, for those of you who don't know who Chuck Berry is, he's the guy who wrote every guitar riff that you'll ever hear. Remember how there were bands in the early 60s that played rock and roll music? Even into the 70s. Those bands were white people who stole Chuck Berry's riff. That's what I think. But I'm so glad that Chuck Berry shared his gift. Because that dude picked up a guitar, he was like, whoa, I can plug it into an amplifier? And people were like, yeah. And he's like, well, I can turn it up? And they were like, yeah. And he's like, what? And he just kept turning it up.
Oh, really what he did is took the horn riffs at the time. Those leads would be saxophones or
Yes.
trumpets in a lot of places.
Appropriated them to the strings of the guitar.
Yeah. And in the process, I would say that probably 99% of everyone that's picked up a guitar since then, it's either because of Chuck Berry or somewhere down the line, somewhere
Yes.
because of Chuck Berry.
You know, I've spent a lot of time meditating on how music is in itself. Modern music is always defined by the tools at its disposal, either available instruments or the means of recording music. And I mean, that's a pattern that repeats itself all the way back. So if you go, let's go back to the Italian Renaissance, and they're finally coming up with like, hey, we have new musical instruments that aren't bagpipes or flutes. They start making stuff out of brass and whatnot. That changed the type of music that people could write. And by the end of, by the time Beethoven was around a couple hundred years later, people were coming up with crazy arrangements for these giant orchestras. And
Well,
a lot of,
the story behind that is there was the harpsichord or
Yes.
the
chamber music, yes.
Yeah, the harpsichord, and once you press the harpsichord, you get the same sound, same volume note, no matter how hard. So here's a
Yeah.
piano. If you press it soft, the harpsichord, it would sound like that. If you press it hard, it would sound like that.
Yep.
So part of what you're saying is that when they made new instruments, they could make new music.
Yes.
That kind of things. Now, part of the reason they could make new instruments is they had new materials and new construction techniques.
New sounds were available. New things took the forefront. All of a sudden, the guitar isn't this quiet little acoustic thing that's used for folk music and viewed as like some dirty, like gypsy instrument. All of a sudden, it's the thing that a guy can stand in front of a stage and sing and play loud and actually do a crazy thing called an electric guitar solo. And so then we think about, is the electric guitar solo, was the electric guitar solo created by the electric guitar, or did somebody have an electric guitar solo
Okay, so
in their head?
going back to what I was saying, that they had a harpsichord.
Oh yes,
Yes, they had a harpsichord, and it only played one volume note.
Yes,
And when they invented better metals,
yes.
they could make stronger and stronger
strings.
things, so they could make a piano. The piano was invented because they had better steel or something like that
Yes.
that could hold it all together. And a piano, its real name is the pianoforte, and that's because, unlike the harpsichord and the organ, it could play a soft note, which is piano in musical terms,
Yes.
or a loud note, which is forte
Boom.
in musical terms.
Yeah.
So piano's full name, that's just his first name. Its full name is pianoforte, and it was allowed to be made because of better industry,
Yes.
better manufacturing techniques, and then therefore Beethoven was one of those people that were among the first that could write for a piano instead of a harpsichord.
Yep.
And that alone just changed quite a bit.
Well, you know, he was obsessed with the piano. Imagine being this musical genius. Speaking of musical geniuses, Beethoven, dude's deaf. Writes a lot of my favorite material that he wrote while deaf, because he'd be able to sit there at that piano and feel it resonate throughout the big wooden box. You know, if Beethoven had been live today, that guy would be playing. He'd be playing the drums. He'd be playing the electric bass. He'd be playing something where he could feel it bump into him.
He'd probably be a DJ with a chaos pad and a drum machine. It's probably Skrillex.
Yeah, you're right. You know, it's always funny.
I do not actually believe that. That's just a joke.
Sometimes
that joke does not represent the
Sometimes I
music
like to
from the guy who said
imagine,
it.
I like to imagine the type of person that a classical music. Everybody's got this hubris that they approach classical music with, where they're like, "Oh, these people are geniuses," and I look at them and I don't see much difference between like Mozart and like David Lee Roth.
Whoa,
I bet
whoa, buddy,
those dudes are the
whoa! We're gonna get a lot out. Now send those hate letters to Stripes
Send it to
at
me.
coffeewithstripes.com.
Send it to Joe.
Talk about Mike comparing Beethoven to Skrillex, and if that's not bad enough, Mozart to David Lee Roth.
Dude, I bet if Mozart was alive today, he wouldn't be alive today. He would have like OD'd on cocaine last night. Like that's where he'd be. If he was alive today, he wouldn't be alive. Let's put it that way.
He did die in his 20s or 30s.
Yeah.
You know, so he
Yeah.
kind of did the proverbial rock star.
Yeah, he's child star syndrome.
You know. But I don't remember him doing anything like this.
Oh,
And that's because
dude.
you can't bend notes on a piano.
Plus, you know what else?
You do it on a violin, I guess.
The second that they had the electric guitar, a few years later, here in Seattle, Washington, there was a little instrument created called the electric bass guitar. And what that did, now that blues guy, because basically rock and roll is sped up blues. Let's boil it down. Now the blues guitar player doesn't have to thumb along. Da-dum, da-dum. He doesn't have to, because there's a dedicated guy with another loud amp going do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. You know, you got your Michael Anthony for your Eddie Van Halen back there. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. He's able to lay down just the thickness. It's just laying down the thick. I'm a bass player. It's all about laying down the thickness. Do 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 do. Where's my bass at? I've got a lot of basses, trust me. But you know what I'm saying? Now you have a whole ensemble. It's one of those revolutions in music where electric instruments opened up this thing where it changed the whole freaking game. All of a sudden, we need a new drum sets. Everybody's got amps. Everybody's got, and it's still following. We still set shit up that way.
Well, it comes down to how much noise can you make with a single instrument. The reason that opera halls and symphony halls are built the way they are is not to look cool. It's for acoustics.
Yeah.
And the reason that there's 40 string instruments on stage is not because it looks cool and it's easy,
It's the
but you
amps.
need the actual amount of sound
Yep.
coming out. So if one violin could sound like this, and another could sound like this, and together they sound like this. But then you get an amp, you turn it up, it sounds like this.
Yep.
So you can get rid of those 40 guys. You get one guy on the electric, one guy on the bass, and your string section is pretty much covered.
Yep. Strings are covered, and then you just need to go find David Lee Roth. That's right. Second time this show.
Ow! Ow! You think we can get David on the show?
Dude, David Lee Roth, I was just talking to him last night, and he was thrilled. He wanted to come down and be a part of our show, but he he's kind of busy right now.
He spends way too much time in L.A., especially in the great rainy
He loves them
parts of
California
Seattle.
girls.
Everywhere I go, I'm just a gigolo. People talking about me.
Oh, would you look at that? It's a David Lee Roth song that sounds just like a Chuck Berry song. What other songs did Chuck Berry write that everybody ripped off, Mike?
Well, we got I got a little change in my pocket, going to and just about everything in between that and Joe Walsh. Now you said rock and roll sped up, right?
Yeah.
But they could actually just slow it down,
Slow it
and
down.
then you get. Spent the last year rocking mountain. See, we can't do too much of the songs, otherwise
Oh,
we'll
we'll get
get sued. But we're pushing the
We're
limits.
pushing how close
Yeah.
we can get to getting sued.
You should write in Stripes at Coffee with Stripes and send us like your favorite rock and
We
roll
would
moments
like it
or
this time.
your breakdown.
We want to reach out to the big, wet, bleeding hearts of all those musical corporations. And if you want to just grant us the rights to use your music, send us an email to stripes@coffeewithstripes.com.
And if you just send in your favorite rock and roll song of all time, not hard rock, not heavy metal, but rock and roll,
Rock and roll.
then maybe we'll put together a top 10 list of the emails that come in, and we'll post it on the site, post it as a comment to the video.
There you go. We can do that.
Yeah. So Chuck Berry, March 18th, 2017.
He was like 90 something, right?
Yeah, we researched
Dude's-
pretty well here. I
dude's
think
old.
it must have been 87.
I already didn't really know that much about him. I know he was like the dude that everybody like ripped off. I know he's the guy from Back to the Future that like Marty McFly played the solo.
We got this far into the show without a Back to the Future reference. Now, which one of you out there called it? I know that there was bets going on.
Ah man,
Yeah, Back to the Future. Really, if
Yeah, man.
that jump started, lots of generations loved Chuck Berry. But then in the 80s,
Yes.
they made that throwback to the 50s, and then
Oh.
it started all over again.
well that's where I learned, because I always wondered. I was like, why is music different? Why does music change? Why is there different periods of music? And then that started my interest in that, because that came out when I was like 9.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm old. It
I
came
mean-
out, and that's what made me read books about music and electric guitars and get interested. Like literally, Back to the Future, and the fact that Marty McFly did the whole like Terminator style time genesis thing on rock and roll. So think about that.
Yeah, a lot of people, myself, may have only seen rock and roll show through Back to the Future. It started with the rock and roll
Yeah.
show in the audition, and
Yeah.
at the end, they
Well,
they
they
do
were
it.
expecting some bland, like, dun, 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 and then he went up there and was like, this is how you kill it! And he was shredded. Nobody'd seen that before. Everybody they just all heads popped.
Kicks over the amp, does the dance where he's lying on his back, right?
Hey, Mr. King of America.
Okay.
Okay, so I have a proclamation. If I were the King of America, what I would do, just to increase my coolness as the King of America, I would take all of the best musicians from every rock band in America. I'd steal like the drummer from Tool, and I'd get like Les Claypool, and I'd steal like Kirk Hammett, and I'd make those guys, they didn't get to be in their bands anymore. Now they're in the royal band. And so as the king, I would just be like the extra bass player. I would assume a position where I didn't have to like try too hard, but I always got to be on stage with like the royal band.
So basically, Paul Allen with the military.
I'd be Paul Allen, yeah, exactly. So I'd roll in, and I'd just be able to go to all the concerts and like kind of play on stage, but I didn't really have to try that hard. I'm like the third trumpet player in Bruce Springsteen's band. But then everybody's like, "Oh, it's the King's band." Everybody come out. And they all play. It plays very well, and all we just play songs that have already been written, that are a certified like American hit. That's all we do.
Such as many of Chuck Berry's tunes.
You know what? Chuck Berry would be well represented in that bracket for sure. But then, yeah, we just go around and we do rock and roll shows as the King of America.
King of America.
Yep. The Royal Band.
I like it. The Royal Band. Well, so if you do write in, like I said last time, with your favorite rock and roll songs, then the King of America's Royal Rock and Roll Band will perform that set list. Probably in a town near you.
Yeah, we'll come to your town and play that show with our band.
Okay.
Why not?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right. Should we play some?
Let's play some rock and roll and play it out. Thanks for listening to us, folks. Keep those emails coming in to stripes@coffeewithstripes.com and listen to some pre-60s rock and roll if you get a chance. A lot. Thank you.
Watch your Coffee with Stripes.
Thank you.